Here is section 1 of the story. Earth was silent until we screamed back, written in full, a minimum of 700 words. Hashtag section 1. The silence of ashes. The world didn't end with a bang. It ended with silence. Earth had been vibrant once, full of noise, movement, and heat. Cities buzzed, skies thundered with flight, oceans roared with life. Then the Varnak came, and everything went quiet. Above the charred Earth, the alien ships hung like tombstones in the sky, massive, black silhouettes blotting out sunlight. Their engines made no sound. Their weapons caused no explosions. They pulsed with low-frequency energy, vibrations that silenced entire city blocks. Not with destruction, but stillness. Electrical systems died. Communications vanished. Human minds fractured in their presence. Civilization fell, not screaming, but holding its breath, waiting for the air to return. And it never did. Now, 3 months after the fall, Leah Voss moved like a ghost through the ruins of Berlin. Smoke curled from skeletal buildings. Ash blanketed the streets like gray snow. Her boots crunched softly on shattered glass. No birds. No wind. Only the faint hum of a Varnak recon drone passing high above, its light sweeping the ground in a sterile beam. She ducked under a collapsed overpass and into the remnants of an underground tram station. The darkness swallowed her, but she knew the path by now. Flashlight off. Hand on wall. Quiet. Always quiet. A faint buzz came from the receiver clipped to her belt. Leah froze. It was coded, static bursts, timed in deliberate sequence. She counted silently. 5 pulses, pause, 3 short bursts. A location. A message. Earth is not dead. Earth remembers. She stared into black for a long time, her heart hammering louder than her footsteps. They were still out there. The resistance. The echo was real. The Varnak thought they had erased humanity's voice. They were wrong. When the invasion began, no one understood what was happening. It started with silence. Satellites failed. Power grids collapsed. Entire cities went dark within hours. Then came the psychic storms, waves of invisible force that turned resistance leaders into catatonic husks. The aliens didn't fight humans. They dismantled them. But humans are not machines. We don't simply stop working. In secret bunkers, hidden labs, old military tunnels, and deep forest shelters, humanity endured. Isolated at first, disconnected, scared, alone but not broken. And one by one, the survivors began to listen, to whisper, to rebuild. The first message came across an ancient Soviet radio array in Kazakhstan. Asterisk, do not speak. Do not scream. But listen, Earth is not silent by choice. Asterisk, Leah had been part of a Berlin survivor cell. 6 people, mostly engineers and students. They'd scavenged for food, batteries, anything that could bring backlight or signal. She was the youngest, but also the one willing to risk climbing the old telecom towers. She still remembered the first time she reached the rooftop and saw the Varnak ship above her, silent, vast, and cold. Its underside open like an eye, and she felt her thoughts slow, her senses dull. She nearly stepped off the edge before snapping back. That was when she knew. The silence wasn't just aftermath. It was a weapon. The message from the echo changed everything. It offered a new kind of resistance, not through sound, but through signal. A hidden network. A war of frequencies. A call for minds too stubborn to be quieted. Now Leah was on a mission, one of many runners across the ruined Earth. Her job wasn't to fight. It was to connect, to carry code, to reactivate the veins of human memory, towers, wires, transmitters. Deep inside the old tram tunnel, she reached a heavy metal door. Burned into it was a symbol, a circle with 3 lines bursting outward. The echo's mark. She knocked twice, paused, then once more. The door hissed open. Inside were 3 figures, masked, armed, and alert. One of them stepped forward and pulled off her hood. A woman in her 40s with gray streaked hair and scars down her cheek. Name, she said. Leah Voss, Runner 12 Alpha. I brought the relay key, Leah said, pulling a small metal chip from her belt. The woman's eyes flicked to the device. She took it without speaking and inserted it into a console built from both human and alien parts. The console lit up, pulsing softly. A moment later, the walls hummed with life. Screens blinked on, showing maps, troop movements, orbital positions. And then came the voice. Smooth, calm, genderless. Node 12 online. Earth remembers. The woman smiled for the first time. Welcome to the scream, Leah. Earth was silent. But silence for humans is only the inhale. Asterisk, asterisk. And now, humanity was ready to exhale. Let me know when you're ready for Section 2, The Sparks Beneath F, or if you like a video script adaptation, F, of this first chapter. Here is Section 2 of the story. Earth was silent until we screamed back, continuing from Section 1. This section is written in full with a minimum of 700 words. Hashtag Section 2, The Sparks Beneath. They called it the Dead Season, the 3 months after Earth fell and the Varnax silenced the world. But beneath the shattered cities, in the hollows of forgotten bunkers, abandoned subway lines, and cold mountain shelters, the sparks of rebellion kindled quietly in the dark. Leah had been at Node 12 for 6 days. Time didn't pass the same way underground. There was no sun to mark the morning, no moon to mark rest. Only routines, work rotations, training drills, technical briefings, encryption decoding. Sleep, when it came, was short and dreamless. And yet, for the first time since Berlin fell, Leah felt something stronger than fear. Purpose. The resistance wasn't a myth. It was real and it was growing. Node 12 was part of what remained of the European resistance grid, YARG, now fully integrated into a planetary network called Project Echo. It wasn't a central command. That idea had died with Earth's governments. Instead, Echo operated like neurons in a reborn brain, distributed, redundant, fast. If one node fell, 10 others would adapt. And it had leaders, not politicians, not generals in bunkers issuing orders from afar, but warriors, thinkers, builders, survivors who refused to be quiet. General Raj Mehta, former head of India's Rapid Response Division, now led Echo's global tactical coordination. He operated from Node 1, an old deep-sea command station beneath the Indian Ocean, now retrofitted with Varnax shielding. Dr. Nia Calderon, a biotech engineer from Sao Paulo, had discovered how to neutralize the Varnax psychic suppression fields using neural resonance disruptors. Her tech, codenamed Resonance Vials, was in testing across multiple nodes. Silas Rain, the enigmatic hacker Leah had only heard over encrypted comms, was rumored to have cracked parts of the Varnax language matrix. He didn't speak much, but when he did, he had access to Varnax ship schematics and troop deployments. No one knew how he got it. Some said he'd been inside a Varnax mothership and survived. And somewhere above them all, hidden behind layers of rerouted signals, was the voice of the Echo, a singular figure who had never been seen, only heard. Leah's job had changed, but her mission remained. Connect the dots, keep the network alive. She now worked under Technician Brun, a no-nonsense systems expert who smelled like machine oil and moved like he hadn't slept since the invasion. "Your next run's coming soon," he said, handing her a battered slate tablet. "Node 17 near Krakow. They're in blackout. We need visual confirmation. Might have gone quiet, might be compromised." Leah nodded. "Solo. 2-man team. You're with Torin." Torin was a field scout, big as a bear and twice as silent. He nodded once, slinging a kinetic rifle over his shoulder. No formal greetings. No wasted breath. Brun continued, "Before you go, I want you to see something." He led her deeper into the station. The walls changed from steel and stone to something else. Panels pulsing with faint blue light. Varnax tech. Integrated. Rewritten. Human engineers worked beside it, inputting commands in a hybrid script of Earth languages and alien glyphs. "This is Resonance Core 4, Brun said, tapping a panel. "We're learning how to talk back, not just shoot. We can broadcast signals that disrupt their suppressors. Give people their minds back." "You mean we can fight them mentally?" Leah asked. Brun chuckled. "Not yet, but we're getting close. Next month, we test it in the field. We'll scream into their minds and see how they like the silence. Later, Leah sat in the Node 12 mess hall, a converted tram tunnel now lit with solar lanterns. She watched people eat quietly, share maps, whisper about old families and missing cities. Children played silently in a corner, drawing on scrap metal with charcoal. They weren't just fighting to survive. They were adapting. And adaptation was humanity's real weapon. She remembered what Dr. Calderon had said over comms earlier that day. The Varnac study pattern. They measure logic, structure, probability. But humans, we are chaos wrapped in skin. They expect a straight line. We give them wildfire. The Echo's messages continued to spread. New nodes were coming online daily. Node 31 in Brazil, Node 22 in Kenya, Node 8 under what used to be Chicago. The Varnac believed Earth was in ruins, but the ruins were hatching something new. That night, Leah dreamt for the first time in weeks. She stood in the ruins of Berlin again, but this time, the buildings grew back, slowly, as if time reversed itself. But instead of their original shapes, they were rebuilt in alien alloys, human design shaped by foreign technology. Skyscrapers made of obsidian, lightless towers humming with unfamiliar energy. From their tops, signals pulsing to stars. She looked up, and for once, the Varnac ships above blinked and pulled away. Then she heard the voice. Not the Echo, her own, screaming. When she woke, the comms channel buzzed with new data. 3 more nodes online. Varnac sensors disrupted in Munich. A probe ship brought down in the Andes. The war wasn't over. It hadn't even begun. Would you like me to continue with Section 3, The Screaming Sky F, or turn these first 2 sections into a short film script or narrated audio version F? Here is Section 3 of the story, Earth Was Silent, Until We Screamed Back, written with a minimum of 700 words. Hashtag Section 3, The Screaming Sky. The skies above Earth have been quiet since the invasion. Silent highways are the alien ships that patrol with mechanical grace and calculated apathy. The Varnac vessels didn't flash, roar, or even shimmer. They move like shadows, watching, waiting, judging. But on the 94th day after Earth fell, the skies changed. They screamed. It began just before dawn. The Varnac were monitoring Earth's radio silence, unaware that humans had built an entirely different form of communication beneath their notice. Buried fiber lines, light pulses, encoded drone patterns. But that morning, across dozens of global locations, a signal they had long considered extinct crackled to life. Analog radio. Except this time, it wasn't a call for help. It was war drums. A rhythmic thumping echoed from the old transmission towers. A sonic sequence designed by Dr. Nia Calderon to disrupt the Varnac's psychic dampeners. It wasn't just a noise, it was a weapon. The resonance pulse rolled like thunder across the frequencies, and across Earth, the resistance struck. From the Canadian north to the jungles of Indonesia, human factions emerged from hiding with synchronized precision. They didn't fight like armies. They fought like insurgents, like predators, like survivors who had spent 3 months studying their enemy and sharpening their rage. In the ruins of old Tokyo, Leah Voss and her partner Torn crept through the skeletal remains of corporate super tower, once a glowing beacon of human ambition, now a decaying husk. Their objective, a Varnac node relay tower that linked communications across the Asia-Pacific region. As they climbed floor after floor, Leah could hear it. The distant explosions, the buzz of kinetic gunfire, the scream of human-built attack drones rising into the smogged air. It wasn't chaos. It was coordinated. At the 43rd floor, they encountered resistance. 3 Varnac scout-class warriors hovered in near silence. Slender, chitin-armored forms with void-black lenses instead of eyes. They didn't speak. They radiated dissonance, an unnatural pressure that made humans' ears ring and thoughts falter. But this time, Leah wasn't helpless. She tapped the side of her helmet and activated the resonance vial attached to her suit. A low-frequency pulse vibrated through her spine, pushing out the psychic noise. Suddenly, the room cleared. She could breathe, think. Torn opened fire with his kinetic rifle. Rounds that didn't explode, but punched through Varnac armor with devastating force. Leah flanked wide, drew her plasma blade, a hybrid invention from Echo Engineers, and buried it into the side of one of the scouts. It fell with a hiss of static and light. Minutes later, the tower was theirs. Leah approached the terminal, an obelisk of glowing alien stone, and inserted the translator key provided by Silas Rain. Code scrolled. Lights blinked red, then blue. Relay node compromised. The Varnak system blinked. Alert! System infected. With that, the Asia-Pacific Hive network fractured. Across the region, Varnak troops lost coordination. Their Hive-link precision collapsed into isolated, panic responses. And above Tokyo, as the first human rocket screamed into the air, a Varnak orbital cruiser began to fall. Across the globe, similar scenes played out. In the Amazon basin, human fighters use a jungle as their weapon, ambushes, viral spores designed to interfere with alien sensors, and weather-based EMP traps. In Kenya, engineers lured Varnak ships into the Great Rift Valley and collapsed the cliffs onto them with seismic charges. Above New York, a human-made aerospace craft known as a Howler launched from a buried DARPA facility. It was slow by interstellar standards, but its payload wasn't speed. It was a satellite cluster containing Project Screamer, high-frequency burst emitters meant to disrupt not just communications, but Varnak Hive cognition. For the first time in the invasion, the Varnak commanders realized they were being outthought. Humanity, they had believed, was a fractured, emotional, illogical species, unsuited for high-order resistance. But they hadn't accounted for Earth's greatest strength, rage plus creativity plus desperation. Inside Node 12, General Raj Mehta stood before a massive holographic display. Red markers, Varnak assets, flicker with uncertainty. Blue nodes, human strike zones, expanded rapidly. The Echo's voice echoed through Command Center. The scream is not a sound. It is our presence. It is the terror they feel when silence no longer protects them. Humanity was no longer hiding. It wasn't running. It wasn't asking for peace. It was rising. Leah and Torin returned to the surface just as the sun broke through the smog for the first time in weeks. It wasn't a peaceful sunrise. The sky was fractured by smoke trails, broken ship hulls, and artificial light from the upper atmosphere. She stood among the wreckage of the Varnak relay and looked up at the falling cruiser, a flaming behemoth crashing into the ocean with a scream that split the sky. "They can hear us now," she whispered. Torin nodded. "Let's make them listen." The sky had once been quiet. Now it howled with Earth's fury. Let me know when you'd like to continue with Section 4, Until the Stars Hear Us, F, or turn these first 3 sections into a screenplay or cinematic narration script, F. Here is Section 4 of the story, Earth Was Silent, Until We Screamed Back, written with minimum of 700 words, bringing the story to a climactic close. Hashtag Section 4, Until the Stars Hear Us. The war on Earth had turned. For the first time since the invasion, the Varnak knew fear. They had come to pacify a planet, to silence a species they deemed chaotic, disorganized, and primitive. In their empire, logic and order ruled all. They saw humanity's history of violence and resistance not as a threat, but as self-destruction, a species doomed by emotion. But they had misjudged the equation. Humanity had a formula the Varnak couldn't compute, resolve sharpened by loss. Now Earth was no longer silent. It was roaring, and it had more to say. The resistance didn't just win isolated battles. They began to adapt faster than the Varnak could process. Alien command protocols were being decrypted. Tech was being turned, integrated, and mass-produced in underground foundries. Psychic dampeners were reverse-engineered into defensive auras. Human soldiers wore helmets lined with thought shield mesh, allowing them to stand in front of Varnak commanders without losing mental clarity. The Echo's broadcast evolved into full-spectrum blitzes, coded frequencies that hijack alien drones mid-flight. In the skies above Africa, resistance networks captured an entire swarm of scout units, repurposed them, and sent them back into orbit carrying explosives. The Varnak had silenced Earth's armies, but they had only taught humanity to fight smarter, to hit without warning, to think like them, or worse, for the Varnak, to think like something new. Leah Voss stood aboard the command deck of the Screamwalker, Earth's first interstellar battlecruiser. It wasn't polished. It wasn't elegant. But it was alive, built within the hollowed shell of fallen Varnak dreadnought. The Screamwalker was a Frankenstein marvel. Earth's steel welded to alien alloys, human navigation grafted to alien propulsion. Entire sections of the ship were powered by reprogrammed Varnak cores, harnessed by engineers from nodes 1, 12, and 31. It wasn't just a ship. It was Earth's Scream given form. Around her, the crew moved with precision. Men and women from different nations, languages, and creeds, all speaking in a unified rhythm of survival. Her squad, Echo Hammer, had become legendary for turning the tide at the Tokyo Relay. Now they stood armored in next-gen hybrid gear, preparing to launch humanity's first message beyond Earth. A message of vengeance, of warning. The Echo's voice filled the chamber, projected from the command sphere. The Varnak understand conquest, but they do not understand consequence. Today they will. General Raj Mehta appeared beside Leah, battle-worn and still standing tall. "We traced the signal of their fleet's relay," he said. "A hub world for light years from here. They'll never see it coming." Dr. Calderon added over comms, "We've weaponized core of their own hive network. This isn't just a strike. It's a reversal. Once we breach, we inject the code. They'll hear everything we've endured. They'll feel it, and then they'll remember Earth." The goal wasn't to conquer. It was to ensure no species ever again believed silence meant defeat. As the Screamwalker's engines ignited, Earth watched in the skies, through long-range cameras, radar feeds, and the naked eyes of children standing in the ruins of what once were cities. The dark ship rose from its cradle beneath the Alps, breaching the cloud line and breaking into the stars. Across Earth, people didn't cheer. They didn't clap. They stood in silence. Not the silence of surrender, but the silence of breath held before an act of defiance. And when the stars swallowed the Screamwalker, the people exhaled. Leah stood at the observation port as stars stretched into lines. "Hyperspace." She spoke softly, her voice barely audible over the hum of the ship. "We weren't ready when they came, but neither were they." Torin, her partner, leaned against the wall, his arm in a sling. "They thought we were prey. They didn't know we were waiting." Leah looked at him. "Waiting for what?" He smiled, eyes on the void, to become something they couldn't silence. A day later, the Screamwalker emerged above the Varnak relay world. The planet was nothing like Earth. Cold, geometric, mechanical. Cities like knives stabbed into the crust. No green, no sea, only silence and signals. Until Earth's voice broke through. The injection began. Frequencies burst across the system. Screams, not of agony, but of resistance. Played back to the Varnak's own neural grid. Every atrocity, every burned city, every cry. Translated, amplified, echoed back. The Varnak, a species so tightly bound in psychic consensus, couldn't block it out. They felt Earth. And for the first time in their long, cold existence, they panicked. Humanity didn't stay to conquer. The Screamwalker left the system as quickly as it had come. It wasn't about destruction. It was a message. We are here. We remember. We scream. Asterisk, asterisk. Back on Earth, months later, under skies slowly returning to blue, children played again. Survivors rebuilt cities, not as replicas of the past, but as monuments to what had been earned. The stars weren't safe, but neither was silence. Final broadcast from the Echo Asterisk. They will tell their children about us. The planet they thought was finished. The people who spoke not with words, but with defiance. We were silent, yes, but only because we were breathing in. Now, they'll never forget what it means when Earth screams back. Let me know if you like a full compiled story PDF F, a narration video script version F, or a thumbnail/poster image of the Screamwalker over the alien world F.